End of class, I'm going to give you the quiz from last week so that we can get that caught up. Today's goal is to get through third declension endings. So we're going to add the final piece to our case ending paradigm. To do that, I want to put up a couple of words that I just want you to pronounce. Okay? Neither one is a real Greek word. But I want to get us in the mindset of what we'll need to do third declension. Thank you, Sherry. Okay. Anthony, pronounce this word on the left here.
Sarx.
Sarx.
Sinful flesh.
Yeah, the flesh. And Antonio, pronounce the word on the right. Lips. Yeah.
Flesh lips?
Yeah. I just made up some endings here. In the conception of pronunciation, sarx and lips aren't pronounced any different than these words.
Sarx.
Sarx. Lips.
Yeah.
You see it?
Okay.
Okay. Here's what you need to know about third declension. And we'll go into more detail here, but third declension are stems, noun stems that end in a consonant, like K or P, kappa or P, right? The nominative singular third declension ending is a sigma. So when that sigma gets attached to the kappa, it's going to change. It's going to become a xi. When that sigma gets attached to the P, it's going to change. It's going to become a psi. Okay? So if you can kind of wrap your mind around the fact that when you see sarx with a xi at the end, it's really a kappa stem ending and a sigma case ending. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're on board with that, this is going to be pretty smooth.
So in English, when we mess with this, we're like she or she's.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. A little bit of review. Attributive adjectives. Okay, so this is from Monday. Attributive adjectives, they assign a quality. How do you identify an attributive adjective? Anthony?
If it's articular
Yes.
and it
Has a head noun.
Yeah.
You're spot on. What's articular mean?
if the adjective has an definite article.
If it has the definite article. There we go. So
Someone watched the videos.
Thank you.
yeah. Articular adjectives plus a head noun. Okay? And there are three ways or positions that can happen. The first attributive position looks like this. Article, adjective. So this is an articular adjective. And then the head noun. The second attributive position swaps places. Okay? So article, head noun, article, adjective. You with me so far? The third attributive position is head noun but without the article. Article, adjective. So it's very similar to the second, except it's missing the article here.
And it will always agree with the head noun in case and number and gender,
You
correct?
got it. Yeah. The articular adjective will agree with the head noun in case, number, and gender. So it'll always be agathos anthropos if anthropos is nominative singular. If anthropos was genitive plural, anthropone, the adjective would be tone, agathone, anthropone, right? Because it has to agree in case, number, and gender. With me so far? Okay. This third attributive position is pretty rare. So these are the two that you really need to keep an eye out for, where it would go article, adjective, head noun, or article, head noun, article, adjective. And without over-translating, how would you say this? How would you translate it?
Man, the eternal.
The agathos means good.
I mean,
The man, the good.
yeah, or, yeah. Oh, because it's not agathos. If it's without the article, if it had without the article, would it be something like the last one, or would it be more like man, and that one would just be called the first one? Like if it was agathos,
If there was no article.
Yeah, anthropos is a little, agathos. It would be more like man for good, so those two, the good man and the second one.
So if I'm understanding you right, there's no article attached to agathos,
No,
and there's no article attached.
No article attached to anthropos.
Okay.
So in that case, is it more like man generally as opposed to love man?
Well, no. All three of these cases, or all three of these positions.
Would you translate them all the same?
Yes.
Yes.
I translate them all as the good man.
Okay.
Okay? But how you see it, I'm trying to get you to make the logical jump that
Yeah.
the man, the good, is the good man. The man that is good. Well, no, I don't want to say it that way. The man, the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they would all be kind of, there's no way like we could read those, I guess the man generally.
Yeah, there'd be another way of doing that. So, what you really need to lock into your mind, attributive adjectives are articular plus a head noun. The adjective agrees with the head noun in case, number, gender. The first position looks like this, the second position looks like that, there's a third position, but if you kind of keep in your mind article adjective, that's what you really need to hold on to. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay? Substantival adjectives, they take the place of nouns. How can you identify a substantival adjective?
Because you're not gonna find a noun that works with it.
You're not going to find a head noun,
And we have the definite article.
and it has the definite article. Right. So it's an articular adjective with no head noun. So this would be, any guesses? Do you remember this
The
vocabulary?
faithfulness?
The faithful.
Oh, the faithful.
The faithful. Those who are faithful, the faithful ones. Right? Do you know panerus? It would be paneros.
The
Evil. Yeah. So this would be the evil ones
And the accusative plural.
in the accusative plural. You got it. Yeah. All right. With me so far? This is just reviewing what we did Monday, but this is helpful. Predicate adjectives assert something about the subject. You would insert into your translation the equative verb is. Right? How do you identify predicate adjectives?
No article,
There's no article.
Just hanging out with the
and Narcissus or whatever.
Yeah, it's anarthrous.
and then
And there is a noun with an article. Okay? So an anarthrous adjective, but an articular noun. Okay? So halagos agathos is the word is good. And there's no article here. So that's how you would tell the difference between the good word and the word is good. It's an anarthrous adjective and an articular noun. You with me? Something I didn't say on Monday that I should have, and I'm gonna iterate it for the first time here. These are called attributive positions. This is called the predicate position. The predicate position is an anarthrous adjective plus an articular noun. Okay? The reason you need to know that is there are some words that show up in the predicate position. So like there's a word pas that means each or every or all in the plural. We're going to learn it today. It shows up in the predicate position, which means you have halagos pas, and that would be each word. Yeah, each word, or every word, or all the words if it were in plural. So predicate position, an anarthrous adjective, an articular noun. Attributive position is articular adjective and head noun. Could be articular or could not be.
So they also sometimes have the verb to be in there, or those.
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, predicate adjectives will occasionally, authors will occasionally just put the equative verb amy in some of its forms, usually estin, third person singular, in which case you just translate it straight across. The word is good, or you could put amy, agathos, halagos, and you know, okay, the word is good. That's what the sentence is trying to get across. Does that make sense? With me so far? Okay. Let's talk third declension. Don't be afraid.
oh, let's.
Yeah.
Why would we be afraid?
You shouldn't be. It's not
I'm not scared of letters.
good deal. Then we'll all be fine getting through your grade. This is the chart that may look familiar to you. Actually, this is the chart that may look familiar to you. It's the second declension masculine, first declension feminine, second declension neuter case ending chart. Sigma nothing new, upsilon sigma upsilon. You can read the rest. When we've tacked the definite article onto words and used our paradigmatic words, halagos is our paradigmatic word for second declension masculine singular words. So halagos, halanthropos, that's what that looks like. Now, the way we put a Greek word together is a stem plus an ending. Right? This is all review. So the sigma just attaches on to that omicron at the end of laga, which is the stem, and we move forward. In third declension, something a little bit different happens. The sigma ending combines with the consonant, and weird things happen. Sometimes it forms a new letter, like xi out of kappa sigma. Sometimes a letter may drop out, like news don't like to be combined with sigmas, so the new drops out, and then you just attach a sigma on. So what you need to know is weird things will happen with the sigma. We'll go through what happens.
So it's not tied at all to gender, it's tied to suffix.
Yeah. Oh, it's tied to declension.
Well, it also makes sense if you sound it out as a sound category.
Most of the 2/3 of the time it will, and then there's 1/3 where you're gonna just need to know that.
It works, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Again, third declension are stems that end in consonants. Our consonants that we're gonna look at today are these: beta, gamma, delta, theta, kappa, p, tau, phi, and chi. We're gonna group them into 3 categories. And you don't need to remember this, I'm just kind of setting you up, that beta, p, and phi are all formed with the lips. Do you feel that? Beta, p, phi. Gamma, kappa, and chi are all called velars. They're formed with the roof of the mouth. K, g, and right? And delta, theta, and tau are all called, any guesses? Dentals. They're formed with the teeth.
Are the betas the plosives? Beta, pi, plosive, beta? I can't remember.
Beta, p, and phi are called labials.
Labials.
Yeah, because they're formed with the lips. Gamma, kappa, chi are velars, formed with the roof of the mouth. And dentals are formed with the teeth. Okay?
You know the word. Draw me a diagram.
The paradigmatic word that we're going to work with is pant. The stem is pant. Okay? So this is the word, the third declension word stem that we're going to look at. It ends in a tau, so it's third declension. It's the stem, which means at no point in any of your studies are you going to come across the word pant. You're going to come across that stem plus an ending. And third declension is all about learning how that ending attaches to stems. Okay? It is a little bit confusing. In the third declension, nominative singular. Sigma or nothing might be the ending. Okay? And I don't want you to think that sigma is the masculine ending and nothing is the feminine ending. That's not the case. Sigma or nothing. Okay? It might be masculine, it might be feminine. Okay? What you're going to find out is that determining...
Or neuter.
Yeah, nothing is the neuter ending. But it'll always be the neuter ending. What you're going to find out is third declension genders are really hard to figure out. It's not like second declension that ends in omicron.
So you have to learn
You have to memorize it.
well, you have to memorize the article of it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you got it. The genitive endings are omicron sigma and omicron sigma, okay, in masculine, feminine, and neuter. Okay? So, if we take a stem like pont, which is an adjective, and it shows up in all three genders, pont does some odd things when we attach the sigma.
Becomes the Z.
No. It doesn't do weird things in the genitive. So if it doesn't do weird things in the genitive, what do you think?
Pontos.
Pontos. You got it. This is going to be pontos, and this is going to be pontos. Okay?
But it's never gonna be pants.
Well, no, it'd be ponts, not pants.
So here at the top, we might expect it to be ponts or pont, but it's not. I'm sorry.
That's a kick in the pants.
It's pos and pon. I know, it does something weird, and here's what you're going to need to wrap your mind around. In the third declension, nominative singulars are just going to do weird things.
So there are going to be 3 patterns based on those 3 groups of letters?
3 patterns based on the 3 groups of... Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to look at why it becomes pos and pon. Okay? But when you memorize your vocab, Mounts has given you the nominative singular and the genitive singular ending. Have you seen that in your vocab?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get nominative singular and genitive singular and the article. And the reason he gives you genitive singular is in third declension, genitive singular is really easy to discern the stem. If you only got pos, it'd be really hard to determine that the stem is actually pont. But because he gives you pos, pontos, it's easier to see. So, here are some hints for the third declension. Third declension stems are concealed in nominative singular. They're hard to find. They're hard to discern. They're much easier to discern in the genitive singular. And we'll go through this. I'll help you see how to use your vocab to help you identify what you're looking at.
So the genitive is like the New Testament. Okay.
Yes, in that it helps reveal what might be less obvious without it.
Yeah.
And most of the interpretive difficulties show up in. Okay, so pos is our nominative singular, pontos is our genitive singular, pont is the stem. And we can see if we take off the endings, the stem is contained right before the omicron sigma genitive ending. So if you memorize with your vocab, pos, pontos, you'll be able to say, oh right, pontos is the genitive, so the stem is pont.
How many third declension words are we talking?
A lot.
What, were you hoping just to sort of brush it away and like doesn't
No, but I wondered if it was like, you know, you could memorize these 25.
Yeah. No. So this might be the back of a vocab card if you do it in this form. Up here at the top, we've got the nominative singular and the ending, and this tells us it's neuter. And then down here we have the stem.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
So, anima, the stem is actually animat, and the genitive would be anamatos. Question?
Does that mean the stem of pneuma is pneumat?
Pneumat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes some sense.
Yeah, it is pneumat, but the tau falls off. Yeah. You had a
I
thought?
was just gonna say, if we know how the genitive's working, we don't really need the stem.
Right. Right. If you know the noun systems, you don't need the stem. When we get to verbs, it's helpful to have developed this pattern with your vocab cards because the stem is a little harder to discern in some places. So, but if you do your vocab cards in this kind of format, these hints will help you discern a third declension noun and what to expect. Okay, so we're going to talk about the square of stops. Again, we looked at this, but not in this kind of format. Labials are P, beta, phi. Velars are kappa, gamma, chi. Dentals are tau, delta, theta.
And all third declension words will end.
In a consonant, not necessarily these consonants.
Okay.
I mean, there are more consonants than just these.
Oh, yeah.
These are the ones we're dealing with.
So, but there are more that might be in the third declension that act weird later that we'll just deal with as one. Do these account for the majority of the
These account for the majority,
Okay.
and they account for the weirdest things.
Got it.
So, if you learn how this works,
The others are easy.
yeah, others are easier. These are called unvoiced, voiced, and aspirated. What that means is, with P, kappa, and tau, when you make the sound, there's no vocal cord involvement. Right? When you do beta, gamma, delta, there's vocal cord involvement. It's voiced. Buh, guh, duh. And these are called aspirated because there's breath that you're using to make the sound. Right? Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the square of stops is important to know because these potential stem endings will react differently to the sigma that gets attached in first declension singular. In nominative singular. Man, I'm really messing that up tonight.
Why is it called the square of stops?
Stops refers to how the stem ends in your mouth.
Okay,
So onomat, it ends in a tau,
right.
which means it's an unvoiced dental. Right? Elpidos, which is the genitive of the word elpis that we'll learn soon, stops in a dental.
Gotcha.
So when we have a sigma, I should have done this the other way, the sigma should come from here because it's attaching to the end. But what do you imagine the P sigma will produce? We already went through it. A psi. You got it. What do you imagine a beta sigma will produce? Just sound it out. Psi. It makes another psi. Okay?
It's BS.
And the sigma theta makes a psi. Now that one doesn't follow as logically. But that's what you need to know. Labials plus sigma will make psis. Okay? Velars plus sigma, what does it make? Xi. Yeah? Makes it in gamma, makes it in chi. So velars plus sigma make xis. It's not always a logical jump, but that's the rule to learn. Okay? Now, dentals plus sigma, this really is the least logical. They don't make anything. The tau drops out. So you just carry the sigma over. The delta drops out and the theta drops out. Okay? So, if you can recognize this, when you come across a third declension noun in the nominative singular, where a sigma would attach, you'll see a psi or a xi, and you'll say, oh, that looks weird, but that stem must end in a kappa. So that xi is actually a sigma attaching to the kappa. Therefore, I'm a nominative singular third declension masculine, whatever. Is that making sense?
Okay.
Question? Yeah.
So, nominative singular adds the
Sigma.
sigma.
Mhm.
Except it won't appear as a sigma. It turns into these things unless it's in a dental thing.
Yeah, in broad strokes, yes. The nominative singular adds a sigma. Dative plural will add a sigma as well, so that'll show up too. But when the sigma gets attached to a stem ending in a labial, it'll make psis. When it gets attached to a stem ending in a velar, it'll make xis. When it gets attached to stems ending in a delta, it'll make sigmas.
So really those sigmas should be the other sigmas, right?
These sigmas should be the other sigmas?
Like the ending sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll fix that when I post it. Anthony and then Terry.
So if you see a word nominative singular that ends in like a C,
Yeah.
it could either be like one of the labials that is turned into a C, or
Yeah.
can a word also just end in C to begin with?
I don't think there are any New Testament Greek words that end in C. Okay? There's some that end in sigma. So you'll need to do more detective work with that. The way that detective work comes in is by doing your vocab memorization. That's why I'm a big proponent of memorizing the vocab. Because if you know that anima is animatos in the genitive, okay, it's a third declension noun, it's masculine. So what happens? Well, it's got a tau at the end. And when the sigma gets attached, the tau drops out. Okay, so that's how that took place. Sarx. Sarx ends in a xi. You're going to memorize it ending in a xi. But what's really going on there is the sigma's attaching to a kappa. So the stem is a kappa. The final stem vowel is a kappa.
So it's sarcos.
So I should expect to see sarcos, right? I thought the next thing was a paradigm. Well, we'll go through these kinds. Whatever happens in nominative singular, which has a sigma, is going to happen in dative plural because the dative plural ending is sigma iota. Okay? So whatever happens with this sigma is going to happen with this sigma. For example, sarx in dative plural is going to be sarxy. Right? That sigma is combining with the kappa, and it's just forming a x and an iota.
So what if pants loses and become pass, pus?
Yeah, we'll get to it. Yep, it's the next few things coming up. News tend to drop out when followed by a sigma. Okay, that's another hint about third declension. So if you have a stem that might end in a new,
Like pants.
yeah. And then, so there's a word coming up that we'll look at, tis, tis and tis. The stem is 10. But when the sigma gets attached, it becomes tis. So you're going to memorize the word tis. You're going to need to remember that the stem is 10. The new's dropping out because the sigma's getting attached. Okay? So, if you see it in the genitive, it's going to be, what do you think? Tenos. Yeah. Tau, iota, nu, omicron sigma. Because the omicron sigma is the ending and 10 is the stem. But the nominative singular is going to say tis. And that's just going to look weird. So you need to know that that's what's going on. And in the dative, it's to see. Right? Because number 2 here. Okay, taus tend to drop out if they're left at the end of a word. Animat is a neuter. Okay? And the third declension ending in neuter is nothing. So nothing gets attached, and the tau drops out because it doesn't like to stand at the end of words. Okay? I know this is kind of weird. We'll go through a paradigm here in a second.
The word su, sigma.
Oh yeah, the second declension, or the second person
Yeah.
pronoun. Yeah, su.
What declension is that?
Don't know. So declension refers to patterns.
Pronouns, are pronouns.
Most-
It's still.
Yeah, most pronouns follow patterns, but I think the first and second person pronouns are weird. Like,
It's just weird.
it's ego. It's, so first, the first person pronoun pattern is ego for nominative singular, amu for genitive, which sounds like second declension, emme for dative, which sounds like second declension, and me, mu epsilon, which doesn't sound like anything, right? So I think first person pronouns and second person pronouns just do weird things. We're going to deal with that next week. So when we get to pronouns, we'll just recognize that they're irregular. First and second person pronouns. Okay. So animat is a neuter word. The tau drops out in dative plural because it doesn't like to stand before a sigma. The tau drops out in nominative singular because a tau doesn't like to stand at the end of a word. So that's how these hints help you identify what's going on. That's why it's anima as the word that you memorize, but the genitive is going to be animatas. In dative plural, it's going to be animasi. With me? Okay. So, let's look at pont plus the sigma again. Yeah.
Can you go back to the anima?
Yeah. So, this is the dative plural ending in neuter.
Because it's a nothing ending?
Yeah.
Oh, I was
And this is
expecting,
the-
like, sigma. Oh,
Yeah, this is the nominative singular ending in plural.
I see.
It's nothing. So when the nothing gets attached to animat, tals drop out at the end of words or when followed by a sigma. Right? So that's why it's going to become animasi and anima.
Also, rule number 2 is referring to the whatever happens to the consonants at the end, not whatever happens to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
not the sigma.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I should have put more detail in there.
okay.
Okay, let's look at pont plus the sigma. Okay? Tals don't like to stand in front of a sigma, so the tau drops out.
Right. New drop.
News don't like to stand in front of a sigma, so the new drops out.
It's like having an in and in fight, this is like which one will last longer.
Yeah.
Together.
So it becomes pos. And since whatever happens in nominative singular happens in dative plural, you're going to see posse in dative plural.
Right.
What is
Okay?
pont?
But everything else is going to be pontos, ponti, pontone. Like, you're going to see that new tau everywhere else. But nominative singular and dative plural.
There the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. So pos, pontos. Here's the dative endings.
Ponti.
Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect. It was iotas all the way across. But since it ends in a consonant instead of a vowel, and iotas like to subscript under lengthened vowels, this iota isn't going to subscript.
Okay.
It's just going to attach to the end, so it's going to be ponti.
For regular buddies, we'd have to drop the N and the T and just be pow, the A or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, this is good.
Yeah, it's ponti, which you would expect. The only thing that's weird is what happens in nominative singular. Everything else follows normal patterns. Okay, it's gonna attach the alpha. So what do you expect it to do? Panta. That's exactly what it is. Okay. Now this becomes pon again for a couple of reasons. One, the ending is nothing, and the ending is nothing because
The ending of
nominative and accusative always mirror each other.
in the new.
Right. In the neuter. Okay? Okay. This is a new ending. There are only like 3 new endings in the third declension, but this is one of them. But it does exactly what you would expect it to do. So what, I guess I did these this way. Genitives are own, exactly what you would expect. Datives are close to what you would expect. In second and first declension, it's iota sigma. Here it's sigma iota. The sigma iota just switched positions. Okay? Alpha sigma here at the end is actually a new ending as well. It doesn't look like a new ending, but you might be thinking it's exactly what first declension feminine plural is. First declension feminine plural ending is actually sigma. But since the stems of first declension end in alpha, it looks like alpha sigma. It's not. It's sigma here, it's alpha sigma here. So what you thought was happening in first declension feminine is actually happening there. It just isn't happening here.
And did the definite articles stay the same?
They do.
So it's like toss pantos?
Yes, it'll be toss pantos, but it'll be
Or well, if that was feminine. Which we don't know.
Right,
Because
right.
it could be either.
right. Yeah, we'll get to it. So what would you expect in nominative singular for pont?
Context.
Pontes, and in the neuter? On top. Oh, shoot, one more thing. Okay. These brackets with the new, that's called a movable new. A movable nu is exactly what happens with the indefinite article in English, where you might say an.
So it's another Elysian kind of thing.
Yes, it's linked to Elysian, but we'll explain why. You can't drop it. You can't drop this vowel in order to, if you're following this word with another word that starts with a vowel.
So it's like the opposite of an elision. It's-
Yes.
Okay.
The Greeks knew we can't drop that vowel to perform Elysian because then you won't know that it's dative plural.
So it's a liaison. I think it's called the proper translation.
Well, whatever. So,
A sinful liaison, actually.
so they added what's called a
Get out.
movable nu. So in English, if you use the indefinite article a followed by a word that starts with a vowel, you don't say a egg, you say an egg. Right? We attach a movable nu to the indefinite article. That's all that's going on here. Okay? So the ending is not technically sigma iota nu. The ending is really sigma iota. But sometimes we have to add a nu on there. Does that make sense?
Are there any weird things like in English where there's sometimes like words that start with H?
Happy, horse.
Happy,
Like
horse,
and historical, ahistorical.
Yes.
Or ahistorical, yeah.
Yes.
Because it depends on your pronunciation, which country you're from. And
Right,
Or else you wouldn't notice looking at it, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
an hour,
Always
it's
historical.
horse, even though it's not a.
Ahistorical.
So that's what's going on with this nu in the brackets.
But does that ever happen in regular times? Is there ever going to be like?
Well, H is used rough breather, right?
Yes, you get H with a rough breather, and that always comes over a vowel.
So
So
yes,
you-
will you get them when you get it without the N or depending on whether it's,
Yeah,
okay, so it is literally the pronunciation.
yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
there's no weird pronunciations that,
Uh,
there's no unseen pronunciations we don't know about in weird cases.
Right, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay,
And rough breathers occur over rows as well.
yeah, but that would still be, okay.
Yeah. Okay, pantes and panta. It's exactly what you would think. Yeah.
So is it new to stop like the iota at the end messing up with the other vowels?
Yeah.
Because what about the dative in the singular? Like shouldn't that, like in my head, shouldn't that also need
Yeah.
a new? But no?
Yeah, for whatever reason, the movable nu tends to show up more often in dative plural than dative singular.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right, but
I just
yeah.
observe.
What would you think for genitive plural? Ponton. Yeah, straight across. So now, remember that what happens in dative plural happens.
Yeah,
It's
passing
passé. You got it. Right? So these are the only things you need to really be careful about. Everything else kind of follows exactly what you would expect. Accusative plural,
Passas.
pantas, and panta again. And here in the neuter, we're mirroring each other just like we did in second declension. Right? That's it. That's third declension. Now, we're going to go through a few different words just to kind of solidify it, and I think there's a few words that do something a little bit weird, but for the most part, that's pretty much the lesson for today. Sarx. Okay? So, sarx is our nominative singular. So what's our genitive singular?
Sarcos.
Sarcos. Yeah, you got it. Sarcos. Sarc. What gender is it? Sarx.
Masculine.
Masculine. How do you know?
The article.
The article.
I feel like sinful flesh would be masculine. That was kind of my.
When you memorize, if you memorize the article, you'll memorize the gender.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Sarx is masculine. You wouldn't know that any other way than by memorizing the article, or by memorizing it. You can memorize it by saying sarx is masculine, or you can memorize it by sarx ha sarx. So it's masculine. Okay, what do we expect it to do in dative singular?
Sarcy.
Sarky. Sarky. The iota just gets tacked on.
I'm just thinking definite articles.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, it's coming up. Sarka in accusative singular. So what's nominative?
Sarcastic.
Sarkes. Sarbonne.
Sarcasm.
Sarxy, you got it?
Sarcastic.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, how about another one? Elpis. What's the gender? Feminine. Okay. What's the genitive singular? Elpidas. You got it. You're reading the end here, right? So what's the stem?
Alpid.
Elpid. Yeah, it's elpid. So this sigma is causing this delta to do something weird, right? The stem is elpid. So what do we expect in dative singular?
Elpidi.
Elpidi. Yeah.
Elpida.
Elpida.
Elpidex.
Yes.
Dome.
Dome. Elpisi. Because what happens in nominative singular happens in dative plural. Elpisi.
Elpidas.
Elpidas. Yeah. No big deal, right?
Hey, Elpidas.
Okay.
Oh man.
So, this is the master case ending chart. You will need to memorize this chart. It will be on the quiz a week from today. Okay? So the quiz won't be Monday because it's Thanksgiving weekend. It'll be next Wednesday. I'm going to ask you to reproduce this chart. Sigma nothing new, sigma nothing nothing. Upsilon sigma upsilon, omicron sigma, yoda 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 yoda. No, you don't. But that's how I do it. New, alpha new, nothing. Okay? Yoda yoda alpha, epsilon sigma alpha. Oh no. Yoda sigma sigma yoda sigma yoda.
With
Okay.
new.
Upsilon sigma, alpha sigma, alpha.
You sound like the whitest rapper ever.
When I was studying for the advanced degree Greek exam here at TST, in the shower, I would just go through this paradigm over and over again
I
to
thought that was too much information.
to solidify.
Oh, that's great.
These are the case endings. And then I would do definite article. Op, top, two, taste, two, toe, tay, toe, tom, tay, top, boy, high, top, tone, toys, ties, toys, toos, tas, top. Right? If you can solidify those two paradigms, you have the noun system. Okay?
That's
Yeah,
why
Terry.
the genitive, they're underlined, genitive plural, the omegas are underlined.
Yes. And the alphas are underlined here. Do you guys remember why?
Because sometimes it'll merge to make a long vowel.
Yeah.
Ablaut.
These omegas absorb the final case ending. So lagos, which ends in an omicron, is going to be lagone, right? These alphas contract with the final stem ending. So ergon, which ends in an omicron, is going to be erga in neuter. So that's what the underlining means. No underlining happening here. Why not?
Because
No vowel.
There are no vowels. All the stems end in a consonant.
Yes.
So none of those case endings are absorbing or contracting. Okay? Yeah.
So up until this date, the two paradigms we need to know are the definite article chart
Yep.
and the master case ending chart.
Yep. Not too bad. And I also asked you to memorize A-me. You remember that's the first,
That's
that's,
your next week right now. Or,
it's not on the quiz next week,
okay, yeah.
but it's another paradigm that I've asked you to memorize.
Well, yeah.
A-me, A, S-ten, ain, which is third person past tense, right? Ada, new. S-men, S-te, S-sin, A-sin. Okay. Feeling good? Okay. Yeah. This is the case endings attached to our paradigmatic words. So up here at the top are the stems that we've been working with. Second declension should be old hat to you. First declension should be old hat. Second declension neuter. So what you're really adding on is this pas, pan ending, right? So pas, pantas, pante, panta, pantes, panton, pasi, pasas. Okay? Questions? We doing okay? Let me put up one more thing about the definite article ending, or the definite articles attached to this stuff, and then we'll take a break.
Yes.
Okay? Here's your definite article chart. There are no additional definite articles. Okay? So
Oh, so there's there.
That's it.
that's it.
Those are the.
Because they're by gender, right?
Because they're by gender, not declension. So you're going to see ha, pas. You're going to see ta, pan. Because ta is the neuter, nominative, singular, definite article. You may,
See.
I'll explain why you won't see hey, pas here in a second.
Because it's the masculine.
Because there's actually a first declension form of pas that tackles the feminine that we'll put up here in a bit, which will follow this paradigm. Yeah, I'll explain. But you're going to see two pantas. To, panti. Ton, panta. Okay?
So it's not quite.
Which will actually help you distinguish between this panta.
Oh,
Right.
Sorry, what's the prompt meaning?
Each, every, or all. Each and every in singular, all in the plural.
Like panta.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, the pandemic.
Yeah,
They're
pandemic.
thinking pantomime, you
Yeah, no,
emotional
it
terror.
does.
Pan American. Pandemic means everyone.
Everyone died, yeah, thanks.
So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're just going to tack on two more to the Mount's rules. Rule 7 is the square of stops. Labials plus sigma become psi, velars plus sigma become xi, dentals plus sigma become sigma. Okay? Shouldn't be that crazy to work with. The square of stops becomes really valuable to know once we get to verbs, because there's some verbs that also work with sigmas and stops. And then, rule 8 is also pretty simple. Taus don't like to stand at the end of the word, so they drop out. Yeah. So there you go. Those are the 8 Mount's rules for nouns. And if you have memorized the chart, or after when you have memorized the chart, this will all make a lot of sense. Stems ending in alpha or eta are first declension, omicrons are second declension, consonants are third declension. Yeah, of course. Every neuter word has the same form in nominative and accusative. Yeah, of course. Almost all neuter words in an alpha, in the nominative or accusative plural, which is what you've seen so far. Dative singular, the iota subscripts, if possible. That's why Mounts puts in the if possible, because in the third declension it's not possible, so they don't. Vowels often change their length. Okay, so we've seen that in the owns of genitive plural and the alphas of neuter plural. In the genitive and dative, the masculine and neuter are always identical, so it's always to, or to, right? And then the last two that we just added. Not that difficult of stuff, right? I mean, this is, it kind of follows a logic once you know how it fits into the chart.
Given that, do we have to memorize these as rules, like 8 rules?
Mounts wants you to. I don't think it's that important if you understand what's happening in the chart. If you understand the paradigm chart, do you really need to know the rule that genitive masculine and neuter are identical? I mean, if you know it's upsilon, or omicron, sigma, I don't know if you need the rule to know that. I think it's helpful to know the square of stops. It'll be especially helpful once we get to verbs. I think it's helpful to remember that taus don't like to stand at the end of words. But
I mean, eventually all those things will just become secondhand. You
Yeah.
don't even remember that
yeah,
ever that was a rule to begin with.
right. Right, it'll become so natural or so obvious
Yeah.
that I wouldn't spend the brain space memorizing it. I'd spend the brain space memorizing the paradigm chart. Yeah. Feeling good? Let's take a break. That was a lot of regurgitation. That's almost all we have for the day. So there are a few more little details that we'll put in, but for the most part, that's what you need to know about third declension. So let's take, it's 6:50. 9:53. Let's go until 7 o'clock and then be back.
Cool.